Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're looking at How to Read a Tree Clues and Patterns from Bark to Leaves by Tristan Gooley. This book was something that popped up in my Amazon related search feed, and I thought it sounded pretty interesting, so I went ahead and got it. How to Read a Tree is about picking up on clues about environments that we can see in every aspect of trees, and the chapters are divided into different parts of the tree. There's a chapter for roots, branches, leaves, the trunk, and so on, as well as for environmental factors like wind. This book is mostly geared toward navigation, but this is something that anyone who's interested in trees or plants ought to read. If you're into growing plants, there's a lot of information in this book that you'll be interested to learn, and probably some you already know. The main theme that I love that this book brings into focus without actually directly stating is the degree of causal environmental determinism that is driving the environments and the ways they're populated. You know about nature versus nurture and humans. Well, this book is kind of like a look into the concept of nature and the forces that shape the growth of the landscape. And we find that it's highly deterministic because it's being governed by factors like elevation, latitude, wind, geography, temperature fluctuations, and weather in general. Gooley says that, quote, no two trees appear identical, and there are reasons for every one of those differences, unquote. And this book expounds on the three big factors for the trees themselves, which are genetics, environment, and time. Another thing I loved about this book is that, like most of the books featured on this channel, the author is conveying the wonder of evolution, and Gooley cites evolution many times in this book. I think it's one of those subjects that is hard not to be excited about when you're aware of how it's happening all around you. And Tristan Gooley's passion for nature and for trees specifically can get fairly loud at times on the page. For me, this kind of enthusiasm makes for a more immersive reading experience. This guy has passion for what he's doing, probably more so than anyone I've read in a long time. I mean, this guy travels around the globe, and one of his favorite things to do is to try to get himself lost in unfamiliar woods just so he can use his natural navigation knowledge to guide himself back out. It's kind of crazy, actually, but this guy will also pause to reflect on how much he loves nature. And, you gotta smile when you're reading someone's work that they're so passionate about. Gooley is also very good with how he explains concepts to the reader, frequently deploying creative analogies to drive home his explanations. This book started out really exciting, and for the first few chapters, I felt the stuff I was learning was really interesting, but that kind of gradually decreased. In my opinion, this book was a bit too long, with the main content at over 340 pages. I was beginning to lose interest after about 200 pages. This book does contain a lot of pictures, though, which is very helpful when he's describing these concepts, so I appreciated that. Also, when reading this, he states that many of the things he mentions are observations he's picked up just from spending time in nature, and I can't help but wonder how many of these concepts are things that already exist in some specialist textbooks. You ever have that where you have these ideas and you later discover that they're already part of an existing body of knowledge? That's what I was wondering about this book, because this guy has so much knowledge, but I don't believe he's been to school for this stuff. But I know that much of this stuff is taught in schools. I'd be very curious to hear what a professional arborist or tree surgeon would say about this book. Here's an interesting example of something I learned from How to Read a Tree. Alder trees can have a special symbiotic relationship with Frankia bacteria, which allows them to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. This allows alders to take hold in areas that would ordinarily be considered too low in nitrogen to support trees. Then, after they've been around for a while, shedding their leaves onto the ground, they've moved enough nitrogen into the soil so that other kinds of trees can now grow there. This is one of his examples of different ways that trees can alter their environments, and this book is full of stuff like this. The sheer number of concepts that Gooley describes in this book is pretty impressive, and I know he's got several other books about natural navigation, like How to Read Nature, How to Read Water, The Natural Navigator, and more. How to Read a Tree being his most recent book, having just come out. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in trees, or you like being out in nature and you're interested in navigation, or if you like to read something that supports a deterministic description of nature, check out How to Read a Tree by Tristan Gooley.